We're going to talk
It
about
got it. It got it.
anxiety and depression. Okay, and we're going to talk about the differences and what causes them, what we can do to try to alleviate them, etc. And what I want to do is we have a asking for meeting passcode. Do you know what that means? So what we're going to do, I invited a colleague of mine to come on because she was telling me that what they were doing, it's a nonprofit group, and her name is Stephanie, but she had an emergency at work, so she put her husband on, and that's who you see, ordinary marathoner. And I'm not going to steal his thunder, but I'm going to just kind of mention exercise is key to health, and we have to exercise. So what I want to do is I want to make an offer to everybody, and this gentleman's name is Scott Schaefer, and
it's actually not. But that's
Stephanie Schaefer. So I just took
I know. Don't just keep going. Just run with
it. They have a program that's going to be happening in May, and he's going to tell us a little bit. And there's a registration for it. And anybody who wants to be involved, that's on our Zoom, I am going to pay half of it for anybody because I want people to start moving. I want people to get some exercise. And it's not going to be where it's going to be horrific, where you have to, do something that you can't do. But I want you to listen and see if you think that it would be something you'd want to do. And if it is, I want to participate with you and help you because I'm going to do it. Are you? Patty's going to do it. Okay. And so we kind of want to help each other and be well and start doing things for ourselves that's going to make us feel better. So Scott, why don't I let you tell just a few minutes about what you do and what that program is.
Sure. I do have to say, I just got out of the car and I came in through the door and my wife said, get on this call, hurry up, I can't make it. So do my best. I'm pinch hitting here. But we run a foundation called the Ordinary Marathoner Foundation. And it came about through a group that we run called Ordinary Marathoners. It's a Facebook discussion group. And if you're interested in joining that group, it's a really great, supportive group of people. There's about 1,300 people in the group. Very supportive of one another in terms of, when it comes to the sport of running and getting out and just get moving, and really just an incredible group of people. And you don't necessarily have to be a marathoner or someone who goes out and runs all the time, but there's people of different ability levels all throughout the entire group, and it's just a great spot to kind of go and sort of support one another. A few years ago, we started a race called the Ordinary Marathon, and that's the event that we're putting on. It's May 6th through May 15th. And one of the common questions that we get is, do I have to run a marathon over that time? Is that, because it seems very intimidating. And the answer is, you could, if you'd like to set a goal. It's actually not as incredible as you might think, or over, as unreachable as you might think. If you go out and walk a 5K every day, you'll hit it. And a 3-mile walk will probably take you an hour. So if you did that each day of the race, you would hit it. But we don't necessarily require you to run or to walk a complete marathon in order to participate. We would like you to try to set your own goal. And the goal could be something like, hey, maybe I just want to get out and walk outside 7 of 10 days. That's a great goal. And it doesn't matter wherever you are on your sort of skill level or ability. Any goal that you think is achievable for you is great. One of the things that we do is we try to, when we go out and run each day of the race, we try to take a picture of ourselves when we're out and post it as hey, I ran today, I ran on the path, or I saw a bunny rabbit, or I saw whatever happens to you on your running. You take a picture, post it, and what we do at the end of the race is that we compile all the photos that people post on social media, and we create a slideshow, and people really love the slideshow. Had I had a little bit of time ahead, I would have even shown you some of the last year's race. So it's just sort of a very supportive group. We like to get out. We like to just sort of support one another and challenge one another, hold each other accountable to a certain degree within friendship. No one's going to yell at you if you don't go out and run that day. But if you post something and say, hey, I'm having, a little trouble getting out, you'll find a lot of support and people kind of going through the same thing and trying to get you up and moving. So this race, originally, this will be the 5th time we do this race. And the first time we raised money for American Cancer Society. And then after that, we realized that American Cancer Society is a great charity. I've done a lot of things for them, but they're just so big that they really couldn't support our race. That we wanted them to kind of help us out. And they just kind of were like, well, we do all of this huge stuff over here. So, you guys we were, a little too small for them. So we started raising money for a smaller charity. And we did that for 2 years, a charity called the SAM Fund. Anyone in Massachusetts might have heard of them. They're sort of like a mid-range charity. And after 2 years of doing that, we decided, you know what, maybe it's time that our community grew a little bit, and maybe it's time we start our own nonprofit and do this race for our own nonprofit. And, our nonprofit started last year. It's called the Ordinary Marathoner Foundation. And by the way, John, I can talk about this stuff forever. So if you hit a time point, I'm not prepared. So I'm just kind of riffing and going. So seriously, if I hit a time spot, just stop me and we'll go. But what we did was we kind of found pockets of, we run programs that are in there. There's to sort of engage people with endurance sports who may not normally think that they are capable of participating in endurance sports. And what I mean is, there's certain, whether it be perceived abilities, like someone says, oh, I'm too old to run, or I weigh too much, or I'm not the right, I'm not the right body type, or we've heard all the excuses. None of them are usually valid. If you go to any big marathon, you will see people with no legs finishing in wheelchairs. You will see people hopping with crutches. You will see some of the most inspiring scenes you have ever seen, people just making it to the finish line. And it really just goes to show that there's not an excuse unless you want to make one for yourself. And so we go out there and program for autistic athletes. We started a program locally with seniors, with our local senior center in East Longmeadow.
Recording in progress.
Oh, did I lose someone?
No.
So we started a program with seniors, and it's like a walking program in East Longmeadow. We started a run clinic for kids in East Longmeadow, and also that was actually the curriculum for which was also taken for a deaf school in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We are doing programs with military veterans, and we're just, wherever there's someone on our advisory council within our who has a cause of support, we do our best to support that. And none of our directors, our board of directors, take any money or any salary or anything like that. Everything goes back, as of now, everything goes back into the programs that we're trying to build. And it's been an incredible experience. And if you guys want to participate in this race, we'd really love the support. And I believe Stephanie had me set up a coupon code the other day. And I think it's your last name, John. It's HOIME. So if you sign up and register, you'll get half off of the registration price. Did I talk too much, John?
No, that's fine. That's fine. The 10 days, as you're looking at the screen, May 6th to the 15th, I'm planning on doing 2.5 miles a day, walking, whatever, a slow jog, whatever, just to get moving, because a lot of times I find that in exercise, once you get going, you want to do it. But, just like our group detoxes, it's so much easier when people are doing it in a group, and then people kind of, we know other people are doing it. And that's the great thing, as Scott mentioned, if you take pictures and post things on social media and see other people doing it, it just makes it fun. And I think exercise needs to be fun, especially for people who haven't done a lot of it. So what I'm going to say is that anybody who wants to join, whatever the membership or whatever the cost is, I will pay half of it for anybody that wants to do it. So I want to support the Ordinary Marathon Foundation. I know they work with autistic children and stuff like that. So it's a great organization, and I think it'll help us as well to get moving and work on our health.
And Scott, can you just tell people how to participate? So is that QR code on, or that little box?
So that QR code will bring you to the registration page. I don't know if it's going to be tough for people to do on their on their computers, but you can also go to ordinarymarathon.com, and at ordinarymarathon.com there's a button on the top that says register for the 2022 race. We use a vendor called Race Roster, and I would give you that site directly, but it's a little bit convoluted because they have so many races that you have to do a slash and all this stuff. But if you go to ordinarymarathon.com, and on the top it should say click here to register for 2022, and that should bring you to the registration page. It'll ask you to select either the 26.2 mile challenge or set your own goal, and you could choose either one. We have some people that will select the 26.2 challenge, and then we have others who will either set a goal that's lower than 26.2. And we have some folks that have in the past, in 10 days, have run upwards of 160 to 200 miles in those 10 days. So we have some, yeah, ultra marathoners in the group too. But again, you know what, even though, we use the term ordinary, and, and then you have someone come and run 175 miles in 10 days, which is certainly not ordinary. And in a way, we use it sarcastically, but I think more so as a sort of a call to solidarity to just everyone who participates in running and loves it, just realizes all the benefits that you can kind of get out of it. And it is that sort of that physical health. And, personally, I used to weigh 280 pounds. I was on blood pressure medication, which I'm no longer on. My heart rate now is like 38 beats per minute. I don't even know how it gets that low, but it is. And the mental health aspects of running, it just being out there and being able to kind of think without any sort of other stressors involved, and just being out there and, breathing the fresh air. I just think it's really good for you physically and mentally. And I think, everyone that's in our group and in that, even though, like I said, they say they're ordinary, it's more of a solidarity movement, in that we all just want everyone to sort of experience that same positive effects that we get from running as well.
Thank you, Scott. I really do appreciate it. And
thank you guys. This is it's very nice and kind of you to help us out this way too. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we'll work on that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. So thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Okay.
I'm gonna jet now, John. Is that all right?
That's fine.
All right.
Fine.
Thank you, guys.
Okay,
if you have
thank
any
you.
questions, please reach out to me.
Will do.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Okay. So we're going to get started. I hope if anybody has any questions on that, and I hope we do have some participation. Just remember, you don't have to run. Walking. We need to walk. You can, you know what? You can ride a bike. You can, whatever you want to do, but we want to get the heart rate going. We want to get some blood flow and get off the couch, get away from the TV, stuff like that. So that's my whole objective. When I heard about it, I thought anybody who tunes in, I will support them as well. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about fighting back against depression and anxiety. Okay, and now depression and anxiety is probably the largest issue in the health community that there is right now, believe it or not. We can say it's because of COVID, it's because of the world situation, it's because of so many different things. It really doesn't matter why it is what it is. And mental health, whether it's depression or anxiety, it really doesn't matter. It is debilitating. I can speak from it happening to me when I was, especially anxiety. I used to have anxiety so bad I would black out. So they thought I was having heart attacks and stuff. Back when I was unhealthy, it was frightening. It was a situation where I didn't want to move. I wanted just to run away. I wanted to hide. I didn't want to talk to anybody. And it's very, very frightening when we get into that. So there are ways to work around it, work through it. And that's what we're going to try to touch on tonight. So let's start out by saying, what is anxiety? Okay, you know, what is it? We know what it feels like for the people that have had anxiety or have anxiety, but why? And simply, it's a fear. You know, being fearful of things. And we say, oh, I'm not afraid of anything. Well, probably you are, but we don't want to admit it. We don't want to talk about it. We kind of push it in the background, or it can be worry. There are people that worry about everything. And it's something, when it comes to anxiety, is something that we feel is going to be happening in the future. All right. And whether it's, you know, are we going to end up in a war? Are we going to end up with no food in the grocery stores? You know, we have these worries and fears. Are things going to be so expensive we can't afford it, etc.? And they become a stress. And we look at it as something that's very stressful, dangerous, or primarily really unfamiliar situations to us, things that we have not experienced. So people have a tendency to worry about, and I have a family member that's that way, that it's always what if that, is this going to happen? What should I do now to make sure? And it's things that you just sometimes shake your head and go, why? But to that person, it's real. It's frightening. Okay, and when we look at things, it's not about the simple things. You know, we can have anxiety if you're going to give a speech. And most people don't like public speaking, okay? Important events. You know, I'll mention Patty. She's planning a wedding for her daughter. You know, as she gets closer to it, there might be some anxiety. You know, is it everything gonna? But that's short term. It's something that's real, that's going to take place. You know, if you're planning a wedding, there's always some people that are unhappy with the way you're doing it. You know, so-and-so got invited, I didn't, whatever. But those are the easy things. That's not really what we're talking about, okay? We're talking about things like that we can't put our finger on. That is it ever going to end? It can be relationships, something that's it feels like is very important to us. And believe it or not, anxiety disorders affect over 40 million adults. That's just the adults, 40 million adults in the United States, all right? But the thing that we have to understand, and when people get into anxiety or have anxiety attacks, they have a tendency to believe that there's no way out. It's this is what's going to be. I have to live with it. I have to be on medication. I have to be drugged, etc., in order to get rid of it. But in reality, the good news is that you can reduce or eliminate anxiety completely, okay? But you have to understand why. What is the activity that's triggering the anxiety within you? What is making it happen? And you might be surprised about what some of the things that are making it happen. So it can be simple things, conflicts, not necessarily always in marriage, conflicts in friendships, conflicts between siblings, stuff like that. It can be social events, painful memories, things that have happened to us. So what happens is we have a perception that certain things are going to happen because of something that we remember from the past. And sometimes, and I probably jump ahead of myself a little bit, but sometimes those things that we remember, we don't really remember them, okay? In other words, we don't remember why certain things trigger. Have you ever known somebody that gets angry for no reason? You say something to them and they all of a sudden you hit a nerve and they get angry. They say or do something or they walk away from you. because it hit a nerve. They may not even know why your statement, your action hit the nerve, but it is because it's something that they have a painful memory of. And we can't walk around in eggshells and worry and say, if I say to Patty, you know, your hair looks messy today, and you know, she gets angry at me and I can't worry about it. But we have to try to understand that something has happened there and that triggered that emotion. So painful memories, public events, like I said, public performances, financial troubles can cause anxiety, because that is something that we worry about when there's financial trouble. You know, will I be able to pay the mortgage? Will I be able to make the car payment? You know, is it some could get repossessed, et cetera, et cetera. So those kind of things create tremendous amounts of anxiety. And then personal trauma, things that have happened to us when we were younger, it lies dormant in our mind, in our subconscious. And then certain things that happen trigger our mind to go the wrong direction or start perceiving that something is going to happen that happened to us before. Okay. So we've all heard about people that lived during the Depression. And people that lived during the Depression, and when they were children even, and they had no money. So as they got older, they would hoard money. They would not put it in the bank because their feeling was this happened back in the 30s. So therefore, I'm not going to risk my money and put it in a bank. I am going to put it underneath my mattress. Okay. And then we can worry about, well, if I put it underneath my mattress, somebody could steal it or the house burns down. All right. And then we lose our money. So there's so many things, but it's things that the trauma that comes to mind based upon other things or other things that we may have even heard about that we didn't even experience. So some of the common signs of anxiety, and again, these are common signs, and some of these things actually can be related to other things, okay? But it's increased heart rate. So a lot of times when I'm working with people, I'll ask them, do you feel anxious? And they'll say, no. Okay. Do you ever feel like your heart is kind of beating a little faster, or maybe you can almost feel it? And they go, yes. Well, that's signs of anxiety. That is increased heart rate. Feeling overly tense. People that are always on edge. Difficulty falling asleep. Now, not necessarily staying asleep, but normally falling asleep. Why? Because your mind will not shut down and relax. Panic attacks, that's what I had. And if you've ever had a panic attack, it is one of the most frightening things there is. And it took me years to get over the idea that I wasn't going to have a panic attack. And anytime I would get a little bit anxious, I would go into a panic attack because I thought I was going to have a panic attack. Okay. It sounds weird, but that's what happens in our mind. Feeling nervous all the time, jittery, trouble concentrating, sweating, feeling tired a lot or overly weak, constant worrying, which I mentioned earlier, worry about everything. Am I going to get sick? Is this going to happen to me? Is my car going to break down? Am I going to make it to the destination, etc.? It's always something that we worry about. And people that have anxiety, it seems like they look for things to worry about. They look for things to be that might go wrong. And that is true. They actually are. They don't mean to, but they are. And it's a difficult situation because oftentimes we tell people, relax and don't worry about it. Well, that's like saying to people, I know you're hungry, but don't eat. Okay. It's the mind says, I have to worry. I have to think about it because what if it happens? But that's anxiety, rapid breathing, fear of the unknown, having a sense of danger. You're always worried, the fight or flight thing. Is the bear going to come around the corner and grab me? Okay, all the time. Stomach disorders, headaches. These are all some of the common signs of anxiety. Now, when we have anxiety, though, constant, that breaks down the immune system. So a lot of these things can actually be symptoms of other things that we work with people, okay? Because it breaks down the immune system and our body slides into other autoimmune deficiencies, which we all know, things like candida and fibromyalgia and arthritis, all those things kind of happen to our body because of the mind. And the mind is so powerful that it breaks down the immune system and the physical well-being of the body. So anxiety in the last 2 years. So I read an article about anxiety. They say that because of COVID-19, there occurred nearly a total breakdown of the American healthcare system. Okay, a lot of things happen to us, and people end up to the hospital, etc. But people weren't being monitored during COVID for a lot of the health issues because everything was shut down, and the only people in the hospitals were people with COVID. So the hospitals have been inundated with repeated reports of, crowded emergency rooms, ICUs, etc. But a lot of that caused people to stay away and not take care of themselves, okay? So what happened is, with that being said, people became very anxious because they couldn't go and be looked at. They couldn't get their physical. They couldn't do all the things that they wanted to do. So that the amount of anxiety has skyrocketed. And since that COVID has kind of, depends on what you listen to or whatever, has ended, all right? I'm not trying to be political, but it's just the way it is. What happens is now you can't get in because everything is so backlogged. So a lot of people are suffering with anxiety. They don't do anything about it, and their system just breaks down. And of course, that means that people become more and more depressed all the time. And the healthcare community is being inundated with issues that have been caused by anxiety that was created during the COVID period, okay? And that has created a tremendous amount of poor health in our medical system, okay? Is there anything you want to say on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of times when people have anxiety, it disguises itself. Do you know anybody who's a perfectionist? A lot of times people that are perfectionists have anxiety, okay? And Patty sitting next to me raised her hand, okay? And she does have a form of anxiety because she is one of these people that has to be, and I used to be that way, but she's one of these people that at the end of the day, I'll say, Patty, pack up and go home. Well, I have to enter this in the computer. I go, I'll be there tomorrow. And she'll give me that look like, oh, it's got to get done today. And I've worked with her a lot, and I think she'll agree, where I just say, leave it, go home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know if it's helped or not. I've had a few things thrown at me and dirty looks and stuff. No, just kidding. Dirty looks, yes, nothing thrown, okay? Okay. But we have to learn to quit trying to be the perfectionist. None of us are perfect. We're never going to be perfect. No matter how hard we try, nothing is going to be 100%. Whether it's at home, whether it's at work, whether it's in your social life, nothing is going to be perfect all the time. And if it is, and if you're trying to make it that way, you are in a mode of anxiety. Because as soon as you realize that it's not perfect, then you're going to get anxious, okay? And a lot of people do it because they think they're living up to their boss's expectation, their spouse's expectations, etc. The house has to be just perfect, okay? And that is a form of anxiety, and it disguises itself that way. So that's anxiety. Now we want to go into depression. And depression, a lot of people think that anxiety and depression are the same. That is not true, okay? Where in anxiety, you have a high heart rate a lot of times. It feels like your heart wants to jump out of your chest. Depression, on the other hand, is a mood disorder, and we feel sad, and we have no interest in things. We just leave me alone. Let me sit in my room, turn off the lights, keep it dark, that type of thing. It affects everything that we do, how we feel, we think, we behave, and obviously can lead to many other emotional and physical issues. But depression, it's actually easier to get rid of anxiety than it is depression. Because depression, people get so low, they get so down that it takes a lot of time to lift them back up. And then the physical problems start. So talking to a woman today who came in, and she'd been part of our program before, but she really struggled with our political environment for a number of years. She struggled with the COVID, and her job is very stressful. And then she went through a divorce. All those things culminated over time. And now all of a sudden, when she called me today, her skin is breaking out. She has hives. She feels horrible. She's gained a lot of weight. And she said, I woke up in the middle of the night and said, I have to call John. Okay, I have to get it back into alternative health and take care of myself. Thankfully, she did it before she totally collapsed. Okay, before they took her and put her on tons of medications. One of the good things was that she couldn't get in to see the doctor because the appointments are so far out. And she realized I can't wait until October to see somebody. All right. But those are the kind of things that depression can cause. So much physical problems within our body. And when we're clinically depressed, the healing of the body takes so much longer to accomplish because the system is so weak and so low, there's no energy, and you have to have energy to heal. Okay, so some of the effects on the body for depression are insomnia, headaches, and fatigue. So you would think that if you have fatigue, you'd be able to sleep, but it's untrue, okay? When we have depression, even though we feel down and we don't want to see anybody, a lot of times people don't sleep. It can create chronic pain, and the pain is because there's no circulation, there's no blood flow, which obviously increases the risk of heart disease. Some people will lose weight, some people will gain. It just depends on the body. Because we get into the mind, it creates a problem with the intestinal tract. Again, gut-brain connection. So people end up with diarrhea, constipation. They'll go back and forth with it oftentimes. Loss of libido, which is very common with people that are depressed, and a lot of inflammation where the body hurts everywhere you touch it after a while. It doesn't matter if it's a joint, it can be just touching of the body and there's pain. And a lot of times when people get that way, other people or even medicine will say it's in your head. I suppose you could say it is because depression is the mind, but the pain is real. It's not like people are depressed and saying I hurt when they don't hurt. They actually feel pain because the body, the body just is not functioning at all. It just becomes almost dead. And that's why I wanted to include exercise in this so that we could get some movement of stuff. I'm not saying everybody on here is depressed, don't get me wrong, but we all need movement And the more we move and the better the circulation and the better the heart rate, the less depressed we are going to be. Okay. What is stress? There are different types of stress. Okay. The most difficult stress is chronic. And chronic stress is stress that's unrelieved. You can't get rid of it. All right. And when we stay under chronic stress, then the body, it's a breakdown of the body. And many of you have heard me say that when I work with people, I deal with the physical, the mental, and the spiritual aspect, because you have to have all of that in order to get your mind and your body well. When the mind is off, the body struggles to heal. And as we mentioned a little bit ago, right now in our society, we are witnessing one of the highest incidences of depression and anxiety ever. And it's going to get worse. As long as there's all this debate about, and again, I'm not trying to be political, and I don't, about masking and do I have to, don't I have to, and everybody's divided and there's this fight all the time. Whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. We're stressed over it. When we watch the news and we see all the stuff happening in the crime and everything that's happening, all this crime and stuff is because of mental illness, mental loss of mental structure. Okay. People don't all of a sudden decide they're going to start following people into their homes and everything and rob them because they saw them buy a watch, an expensive watch somewhere. That is not normal. That is psychological issues. And we're seeing that more and more and more throughout our country. All you have to do is turn on the news for 5 minutes and you hear it and you see it and you just wonder what is going on. Okay. So that is a form of stress, and we're creating our own stress by watching and listening to it. Not saying we should be ignorant of what's happening, but we can't constantly be absorbed with it. We can't. And if you watch the news, it's the same thing over and over and over. It just never, ever stops. And that is making people stressed. It's creating depression and anxiety. So chronic stress is never-ending stress. Now, when I say never-ending stress, I mean it's perceived it's never going to end. And a lot of times it's because we don't make it end, okay? We get into this thing, it's like being on a river and the current is going one way and we can't fight the current and we just keep on going down the river. Pretty soon you're going to hit a waterfall and you're going to go over the edge, period. And it has to be changed. And chronic stress can be everything from family. It can be work. It can be financial. It can be just the worries of the world, etc. Acute stress is short term. Acute stress would be more like I mentioned Patty planning a wedding. That's acute stress. It's stress, but it's not it's going to end, okay? Once the wedding's paid for, the money is put out, the celebration is over, it ends to a degree, okay? So it's not something that you look at and say, this is forever. Where chronic stress in our mind, we just don't see an end to it. So a lot of times when I do the evoxes, it'll come up in emotions, it'll say helpless or hopeless. That means somebody is going through some chronic stress that they just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. They're just, in their mind, it says this is never going to end. Whether it's people stay in a relationship that's abusive and they just say, I have no way out. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? I can't leave it. So that would be that kind of stress. Or a job that you say, it's just horrific. I can't tolerate it, but I have nowhere else to go. That's chronic stress. Versus acute stress, again, would be, doing a presentation. You've been called upon to do a presentation on Friday. You go through stress over during the week preparing and wondering, am I going to get it right? But you know that come Saturday, it's done. Good, bad, right, wrong, or different, it's done. Okay. And then stressors is anything that requires you to cope with a situation. So we're constantly going through stressors in our life. Always, every single day, there are stressors. All right. There are stressors. If you have children, the kids want to do this, they want to go here. I need money to send them on their field trip, etc. Those are stressors. But if we allow them to continue, we don't take care of it, then it turns into a chronic stress where it just won't end. And you've heard people say it's always something. No matter what, I fix one thing, something else comes. And that's because we've fallen into chronic stress, and we're sometimes looking for things, even though it should be acute, we put it in with a pile of chronic because in our mind, it's just one more thing. And I know that when this is solved, there's going to be another thing. So it's never going to end. And then perception is a meaning given to an event or occurrence based on a person's previous experience or understanding, kind of like I talked about earlier. A perception is that Patty and I are sitting here in this room, and because of something that might have happened or you heard of, you wonder, is the ceiling going to cave in on me? That's a perception. And I could tell Patty, don't worry about it, it's fine. But if it's her perception that that could happen, that becomes a stressor, okay? And now she starts stressing. And after time, if every time she's inside of a building, she's worried about the ceiling caving in, that becomes chronic stress because she has to be inside of a building. And all of a sudden, people will say to her, or say about her, they're probably not to her, you're nuts. Okay, that's crazy. Well, to her, it's not. To her, it's real. People that are perception also is people that are afraid of heights. They can't fly. I will not get on an airplane, they say, because I'm terrified of heights. And you say, well, you can't fall out of an airplane. Okay, what? To that person, it is a stress. And we have to be cognizant of that and work with the person and understand that there's something that's happened somewhere in their life that even if they don't know what it is, it's caused a problem. The easy things are when people say, I was in combat, so I'm afraid of gunfire. Okay, you understand that. But some things we don't understand. Why am I afraid of heights? Well, maybe when I was 2 years old, I fell off of a 2-foot box or something that I was on, and it scared me to death at that point. And so therefore, anything that seemed high, because the brain doesn't say, well, that was only 1.5 feet, and you couldn't have got hurt, you landed on carpet, whatever. That's not what the brain does. And oftentimes you'll see children that something happens and they'll start crying, they just are in a panic. Well, that registers in the brain. And that's why a lot of our behavior later on is because of things that happened to us when we were children and we don't even know it. We don't remember it. We have no idea that it happened. Okay. So that's perceptions, chronic, acute, and then stressors and perceptions. And that is why we do the EVOX, because the EVOX is based on shifting perceptions from our mind. And that's another way to help people get well. So it shifts perceptions on behavior, self-image, addictions, relationships, wellness, performance, inherited beliefs, and emotions. And about 90% of the people that I do the EVOX on will pick a topic. And what happens is they become emotional, can become very emotional. And a lot of times they don't even know why it's emotional, because it brings things up, and that's how we heal. Just like when you do a program and you feel worse before you can feel better, when we deal with the mind, a lot of times those emotions, and you have to get rid of those emotions and let them out. And I tell people, cry, that's fine. People say, I feel like crying. I want you to cry. Get it out, let it go, because we're harboring it and we're holding it, which creates a problem in our mind. So when we do this, sometimes we do it single items. Other times it'll tell us that we need to work on multi-topics, which means, for example, a multi-topic could be fear of heights. And then we take that and we take subtopics. What is it below that that you think about? So we'll kind of use something a little more common, weight loss, okay? So weight loss is the topic, but then below that you have subtopics. Subtopics could be eating late at night, not enough exercise,
Overeating.
overeating,
Snacking.
sugar addictions, different things like that. And we work with those subtopics to try to solve the weight loss topic, okay? And you have to spend time on doing that so that you get to the root of why can't this person lose weight, period, all right? Because a lot of it is up in the brain, believe it or not. It's not just a matter of quit eating. And then other times it tells us we need to do what we call transgenerational. And transgenerational means a lot of times our mind has to be cleared of whether it's family. It could be grandparents, parents, spouses, that type of thing. And we have to go through that and get releases from the family in order to get to the root cause of the issue and to let the person's mind start to heal. So that would be part of the relationship issues, okay? And addictions doesn't mean we're addicted to alcohol or drugs. It can be sugars, it can be many things, okay? We can be addicted to eating late. We can be addicted to eating too much. Just overeating, even if it's decent food, can be somewhat of an addiction, all right? So it's not like, oh, these people are addicted and they're bad. No, not at all, okay? So I want you to read that and think about it. Whatever you are not changing, you are choosing, okay? So if we decide we're not going to get into our mind, we're not going to work on the stress, then we're choosing to live with it. If we're in a relationship that's not working or abusive, and we don't change, not necessarily change the person, but change the behavior, change the things we do or they do and talk about it, then we're choosing to live in that particular environment. So read it a couple times and let it register. Okay. So why do people resist change? Because they focus on what they have to give up instead of what they have to gain. Okay, and then we get in our head that we don't want to give things up. So we want to, we have to understand that we have to give things up in order to change, because what we're doing now isn't working, whether it's mentally, physically, or spiritually. So I'm going to tell you that I believe, and most of you know me to a degree, easing depression. How do we do it? And anxiety. We have to believe, and this is my opinion, I hope I get some discussion on it or thoughts. We have to do it with prayer and meditation practices, okay? Because in my opinion, if I lived this life and I thought this was the best thing there's ever going to be, I would say, what the heck is this? Okay? Because life is hard. Life can be cruel. People can be cruel that we're around. So I believe that you have to be able to look farther away from where we're at now and say, there is something better, and this is the journey. This is just the journey to get there. And I believe that. And there's a doctor who, Dr. Blaylock, he wrote on this. While you drink water, would you just? Yeah.
Okay, so Dr. Blaylock says the most beneficial worldview a person can have is a religious one, in which life is not a series of disappointments, crises, and failures, but has real meaning and joy. Non-religious people tend to live by the adage that life is just one thing after another and then you die. On the other hand, Christians feel, or as he says, should feel, a strong link to God and should experience life as a mysterious miracle.
Right. So I believe that. I believe in my mind that when we fear anything, even death, that it creates depression and anxiety. Okay. For me, I look forward because I believe that, and I've learned, it took me time, that I live the life, I do everything that I possibly can in my own mind to be the right type of person I should be. And if the cards fall badly, okay, that's part of the journey. All right. But I just know that there's a reason for it. Okay. And I believe there's a reason for everything, no matter what. And that's the way I have learned to live my life. So I don't fear what's going to happen later on in life. All right. Take care of myself, take care of my health, take care of my mind. Yes. Because I do believe that my body is supposed to be taken care of as a temple. And therefore, if I do that, I can stay healthy. Is there some issues that could happen? That, a car accident, a fall? Sure, there is. But the odds are against it, okay? If you do the right things. There's always anomalies in everything, okay? So I believe with this doctor that we have to be, people unrealistically expect to be happy all the time, but that's not the way life is. And then when we aren't happy, we get depressed. We think that we've been done wrong, okay? And antidepressants have created intense advertising campaigns to convince people that they are in fact depressed. When in reality, I think we're confused about what life is, what life is supposed to be. And I think that we can work, especially with depression, and realize how blessed we are, how totally, totally blessed we are. And, I've had people tell me, a couple of my pastors I've talked to said, if you think about it, look around, no matter what it is that we have, look around and see that there are people worse, so much worse than you. And you can always find it, no matter what. So I so believe that. I so believe in prayer, meditation, clearing the mind, etc. I'm not a person who can say, well, I can sit down and I can empty my mind and nothing enters my mind. I don't believe that. I believe as soon as I do, I'm thinking of something. All I try to do is think about things that will help me feel good about myself. And most people that are depressed don't like themselves, and they haven't liked themselves for a long time. And they have to learn to like themselves and believe that they're on this earth for a reason and that they weren't just put here by accident. So, okay. So here's a challenge, okay? When anything negative, and we all have negative thoughts all the time, always, okay? Every time I drive past a gas station, I have a negative thought, okay? But if you can think about it and not let that lie in your mind and try to think 3 positive ones. It doesn't have to be related to the negative thought, but just think of 3 things that you're grateful for, that you have, that you're happy that you have, and if it was taken away, you'd be devastated. Okay? 3 positives for every negative. If we do that, it's hard to be depressed. It's hard to be down. But a lot of people that we talk to and are around, all of us are this way, and we say, negative Nellies, everything is negative, everything is bad, nothing is right. That's untrue, 100% untrue. But we have to train ourselves to flip the script. So what are the things that we can change? Okay, there's certain things we can't change, all right? But we can change the way we perceive things. So in order to lower stress, you can exercise. That's why I brought Scott on, okay? And I'm willing to participate. Meditation, prayer, reading, writing, spending time with people that you love and that you can communicate with, listening to music, listening to comedians that make you laugh. I think one time we talked about different comedians that, Steve Harvey makes me laugh, okay? I used to watch things like, they don't have the sitcoms like they used to, but Harvey Korman and some of those people.
Oh, yeah.
They were
Carol
clean.
Burnett.
Carol Burnett, they were clean, they were funny,
Tim Conway.
Tim Conway, they just made you laugh, and you could sit there. And in order to lower stress, if you can get 2 belly laughs a day, and a belly laugh is where you laugh and you feel it in your stomach, you will lower your stress immensely, okay? But a lot of us, we don't have the belly laughs. We don't laugh anymore. Some of it is we're afraid to offend somebody, but we need to laugh and have fun. We need to eliminate deficiencies. Deficiencies are what we're doing to our body, okay? We need to eat clean. Depressed and anxious people eat bad. Why? Because their mind is telling them, give me something that makes me feel good for the moment, all right? Vitamin D is huge. Our instant meals are great. Their essential fatty acids really help to eliminate the deficiencies. But clean eating is the most important thing. And then gut health, because it's gut-brain connection. The detoxer to purify the blood, probiotics and digestive enzymes. Okay, when we get bad gut health, things can happen. I.e., lots of gas. Okay, and gas creates pain, and but it's coming from the gut, and then our mind goes, there's something wrong, something is happening, oh my gosh, and it happens all the time, all right? So, I just had somebody text me this watching this and said, and I love it, I laugh at myself and everyone else with no guilt. Good for you. Good for you. Okay. I can't argue with that at all. That is wonderful. We need to laugh and have no guilt in laughing. Okay. We don't laugh at people. We laugh with people. Okay. That's the key. And if you're going to laugh at somebody, don't let them see it. Okay. So what foods do we avoid? Processed foods. Processed foods, and that's foods in a box, in a can, all that stuff, okay? Gluten, because it affects the gut negatively. Most of them are GMO'd. Farm-raised seafood or farm-raised meats, hydrogenated oils. What's the other side?
The other side, sugar and chemical sweeteners. Anything that's got an artificial flavor in it. Caffeine and processed meats, like your deli meats, bacon, hot dogs, things like that.
And why do we get rid of caffeine? People will argue with me and tell me, well, caffeine makes me feel good because it's a stimulant. And it spikes us and then we crash. And every time we crash, whether it's sugar, caffeine, drugs, we get depressed because you are up and then you crash. And the more times you crash, the more you realize I can't stay up. So it becomes such a negative. That's why.
We'll talk about change again. So we can't expect things to change without putting any effort into it. If we do, it's like waiting for a ship at the airport. It's just not going to happen.
I hope you like that. I hope it made some people smile, because it did me. When I read that, I went, "Then I like that." Okay. So we're certainly not going to wait for a cruise ship to come in at the airport. Or at the seashore waiting for the airplane to pick us up. It's just not going to happen. So we have to put the effort into it. And when we change our mental health, just like our physical health, it's a process. It's not an overnight. It's not, well, I've been doing this for 30 days, 60 days, and I'm still not happy. Well, two things. Number one, I asked somebody today, how long did it take you to get to where you are? And they said, 15 years. Okay, you've been doing this for 2 months. Okay, think about the change so far, but we have to look for the positive change and not keep thinking about what hasn't changed. There are the positive changes. So that's where we get our mind right. Okay, have you ever been in one of those moods where you don't know what's wrong, but you're irritated with everyone and everything? Okay. Maureen, have you ever been in one of those moods?
I see some smiles there.
Yeah, I have been. I've been in those moods where yes, it is just, I'm irritated. I don't know why, but I am. But if we carry that through, and it's okay to have a day like that or an hour like that, it's okay. We're human, but we have to understand that it is natural, but you can't let yourself stay there. You've got to, at some point, just like eating bad, you have a day where you eat bad, you can't continue and say, you know what, I eat bad, so I'm just going to keep on. What's the point? Or I'm irritated, I'm just going to stay irritated tomorrow and the next day. Then we're going to have a problem. We have to look at the bright side. Look through the clouds, look for the sun, because it's there. An unhealed person can find offense in pretty much everything someone does. A healed person understands that the actions of others has absolutely nothing to do with them. Each day you get to decide which one you will be. Okay? Think about that. So we choose it. We choose it. And nobody can convince me otherwise. If I go into a place, a store, and I decide that everybody there is not going to help me, I guarantee you I'm not going to get help. Because once I believe it, I'm going to prove it to myself that I'm right. And therefore, it's going to be the way I said it's going to be. If I go in and decide that it's not going to be that way and I'm going to get help, then I'll get help. Okay? We choose what we want and what happens. What supplementation helps with depression and anxiety? Vitamin D. Vitamin D is fuel for the brain. Okay? In addition, it helps to strengthen bones, that helps the immune system, but it really improves moods. Vitamin D comes from the sun. So getting outside and getting some fresh air and sunshine helps, but you're not going to get enough. Tranquility, stress helps to reduce stress and anxiety because it's not a sleep aid, it is a calming of the mind. Okay, just calms the mind and the body. That's why we have people take it in the morning and at bedtime. Some people take it 3 times a day, depending on where you're at with your stress and anxiety. And sleep increases your REM sleep, which is REM is rapid eye movement, calming the body, reduces the sleep disturbances, In other words, you're not going to be coming out of REM sleep and getting into dreams that pull you out of sleep. And then you can awake feeling more rested. However, whether you use a sleep or you use our night tea, do not overdo it. Even though it's natural, more is not better. A couple of other products that we have that help is the B for the brain. Okay, it helps the frontal lobe, memory, cognition, alertness. The GB, which is a pineal. Pituitary and pineal deal with stress. It helps to improve mental clarity, positive moods, and some mild head tension. And the nerve is similar to the tranquility in that it helps to calm the nerves in the body, and it helps with stress, obviously, and it helps with the heart so it's more used for anxiety than it would be for depression. Stress, anxiety, and depression are caused when we are living to please others. Okay, so many people live to take care of and please everybody else. Think about the people that you know that are overly stressed, have anxiety, or depressed. If you really talk to them, they went through a lot of their life catering to other people and trying to take care of everybody else. Don't become a victim of it. So one of our clients brought this into us yesterday. Just brought it in because they said, you know, I saw this and I thought you would like it, and I loved it. Okay. So we have energy. Energy, positive or negative, means we're either mentally solid or we're overly stressed or depressed. So what are the energy givers? Sunlight,
Laughter,
hydration,
breathing,
wholesome food,
dancing.
dance. You know, there's an old saying, dance as if nobody is watching. Okay, enjoy yourself. Okay. I saw something not that long ago. Somebody's vacuuming and the vacuum is going, they're dancing, and somebody comes in and sees them and they're all embarrassed. Why? Enjoy yourself. Nature,
Fresh air,
movement or exercise,
sleep and rest,
meditation,
art and creativity.
and being present. What does present mean?
But right now, paying attention, focusing on where you're at this moment, and not thinking about other things and losing concentration.
And also present can mean listen to other people and don't worry about yourself. Okay, don't keep thinking about all the things that are wrong or bad for yourself. Listen to the other people, and then you'll realize how good you have it. What are the energy takers? Fear,
Stress,
resentment, and we all carry resentment.
overthinking.
Overworking,
Oh, that was perfect for you to say. Negativity,
no movement.
mess and clutter.
Okay, clean up the stuff so you're not looking at it all the time. Because when you look at the clutter, it makes us. A couple of months ago, both Patty and I said, you know what? In our Southwick, we just got to clean out the office. And I filled up the trash, and I felt so much better. Junk food,
Dehydration.
sloppy boundaries. What does that mean?
That means living for others, doing, not doing what you want to do, saying yes when you don't really want to.
And yes, and also people that tell me I can't eat a certain way because my family doesn't like that, or my grandma made dinner and I have to eat, and that is sloppy boundaries. You have boundaries that you want to take care of yourself. Don't let other people interfere in your boundaries.
Excess screen time.
Living in the past. We all have a past, and sometimes that past we wish it would go away, but it's not going to unless we choose to leave it in the past. Okay, I've said this before, and most of you have heard this. There is a reason why the windshield is one size and the rear view mirror is another. because there's so much more in front of you than there is behind you. And that is the things that you have to understand. Look ahead, forget what's in the past.
I like this one.
So you read it.
Your mind is a garden. Your thoughts are the seeds. The harvest can be either flowers or weeds. So it's all about how you think. Think negative, it's going to be weeds. Think positive, you have beautiful flowers.
So think about that, okay? Just think, just think about this time of year, the spring, trees are budding, okay? Think about that, all right? Think about all the beautiful flowers within the next 3 weeks, a month, depending where you live. They're gonna be beautiful. Think about that rather than, oh, it's raining, it's miserable, it's et cetera, et cetera.
All right.
I want to thank everybody for being here and participating and listening or whatever. I hope you got something out of it. We're going to go back to our main screen and I'm going to open up for questions or thoughts or ideas. Hi, Carol. Okay, who has questions for me?
It's not really a question. Whoops, sorry. It's not really a question, it's more of a comment. I read several articles actually that say this about the clutter thing, which I really need to get after. That they say just walk through your house every day and get rid of 10 things. Could be any 10 things, but it's a habit, just like anything else, you build it. And, you know, it's amazing, even just that little bit, like you said you did to the office, how empowering that feels to just like, I need to purge shit that has to do with my old life right now. But I just think in clutter in general, we hang on to stuff for reasons that make no sense. You know,
I live with my sister. She's in trouble then.
is she on this that you're dissing her?
I wouldn't say it if she wasn't. That's a good idea. Yeah, clutter, I'm telling you. Okay. Hi, Taryn.
Wake up, Taryn.
Okay, so for those who don't know, this is Taryn. She works for us too. Most of you have seen her or met her, but just wanted to say hi.
Hi, everybody. After this Zoom call, I'm going to go out for a walk/run and start my ordinary marathon.
Okay,
Nice.
who else has questions? Thoughts, ideas? Nobody? Was it helpful at all?
Heather's got something.
It was very helpful. I really appreciate it because I think a lot of us struggle with some form of anxiety and depression. So very practical thoughts. I take pictures off the computer screen and I send them to different people that could benefit. So thank you.
The thing Heather just mentioned, we all have some form of depression. We all have some form of anxiety. There is nobody that's quote unquote normal. There is no normal, okay? We have to understand that. So it's not about people being normal or abnormal. That's not what it is. We all have stressors in our life, and it's just a matter of how do we take it? Which direction do we take it? And how is it either going to help us or hurt us? And that's the thing we have to understand. Be around positive people. You know, if you're around people that are always down, you're going to get down. If you're around people that are positive and laughing, you're going to be positive and laughing. It's just the way our life works. Okay, so that's why we say get out and exercise. And again, I hope some of you take me up on the offer. Just find the positivity in life, whether it's other people. Get rid of the negative stuff, the clutter, as Kim said. Get rid of the clutter. And sometimes the clutter is people, believe it or not. Okay?
Uh-huh.
And I don't mean spouses necessarily, I mean just people in general. Sometimes you just have to step away and find a new crowd. Or, find somebody that makes you laugh and helps you laugh. And then in turn, once you start feeling better, you'll be able to help other people feel better. It's a chain reaction, okay? It's not one person does it. It's not only certain people can do it. No, we all can be happy if we choose to be, but we have to choose it. Anything else? Anybody else have a question?